Welcome, everybody, to the MidLyfe Gaming Podcast. This is week 11, Steve. As always, your hosts here are Pharaoh, Steve, and myself, this guy, Archie. How's it going, Steve?
It's going great, man. Glad to be here. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Today, we are going to be talking about some potentially stolen GPUs, Titanfall coming to Apex, Sony seeming to be changing their minds on the whole unique title situation, as well as some the latest Nintendo rumors / teases, I guess. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. First up is Grand Theft GPU, Steve.
First up. So, yeah, this is a pretty interesting story. Came across this on Kotaku. Keep it brief for everyone. There was a high-speed boat chase that took place over in China. And once they actually caught up with the boat and found out why they were in this high-speed chase, expecting to find drugs, usually opiate, something like that. What they instead find is a ton of GPUs, and I forget the model off the top of my head. Arch, I think you have it there in the notes, but
Yep.
This particular model is specifically used for crypto, or it's the intended use for it is not for mining cryptocurrency, but that is what it's most popular for. It's about a $700 card. They're going for over 1,000 right now just because of the scarcity of getting them. This is the card that these guys said wouldn't be able to be used for crypto mining because of something they did with the BIOS. But you tell any hacker that they can't do something, they're going to do it even quicker at that point. Yes, I just thought this was pretty interesting. Is this that this is such a highly in demand product, hardware, whatever the case it is, that at this point people are smuggling this just as they would, billions of dollars worth of drugs. And the total take for this was over $250,000. It was like 300,000. So you think maybe 300 GPUs at 1,000 is probably where they came up with that number from. But yeah, just insane that this is really happening in the industry. Archie, you've been doing some hardware and room updates recently. Have you had any trouble getting anything in?
Oh, I mean, everything is on back order. And just a touch note, these are the ones that were purpose built for mining. So they're not supposed to, even though I think these ones from other images that I've seen do have outputs on the back of them, or at least the shields do, the shrouds. Actually, I can see it kind of right here. No, it looks like it's just a hollow cutout right here in this image. So these were the purpose-built 30HXs that were supposed to be intentionally BIOS locked to only perform so well with, I think it was Ethereum, maybe? I don't know. I don't really keep up with the Bitcoin shenanigans. But yeah, I mean, these cards right here I did a quick little search before the stream went live, and they're currently going for a little over $700 each. So, I mean, they're not great at mining. I saw a Reddit post where they only do basically the equivalent of like a 3-year-old Radeon card, except double the power usage. So it's not that great.
Gotcha.
These appear to be unbranded too, which is a little a little odd for the whole setup. They look kind of like gigabyte cards though. If I had to put money on it, they definitely look more like the gigabyte branding on there.
Yeah, and they honestly they could even be counterfeit. Like, obviously
Right.
that's a big piece of what you see with smuggling and things like that. Because you think about it, if they're not counterfeit, that they're stolen. There's really no other reason that you would do this. I
No,
guess you could say if
this
you
is
were trying
just
to
the
get a
standard shipping mechanism for Wish.com. It's highway
very true.
speedboat chases.
Very true. So yeah, but interesting. We'll keep you guys up to date with the world of criminal activity and video gaming.
All right. And then with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Apex Legends will get a ton of Titanfall content next season. Now, this is one that you shared this with me earlier. I think it was last week, whenever it was just kind of slightly rumored, but now I believe it's confirmed that this is happening. Around the time that I was looking for a new, shoot 'em up, bang bang title, and this announcement alone confirmed that the Apex was going to be my next. So I just recently started it, and I know Thomas in the chat, Tom the Greek. He and I are going to be hitting it up in the next couple of days as well. Have you played Apex, Steve?
I have. I have. So if you, I'm allowed to say it now. Actually, I play tested Apex before it was an even announced title. So I live down here in Tampa, Florida. EA Turbion. You probably know them mostly for the EA Sports games, but they're over
Mm-hmm.
in Orlando. And I signed up for the play testing. There's a thing you enlist in, and they tell you when there's opportunities. And eventually it came around to where it was my time. They had me come in. I play tested it, and it was cool. It was definitely a even then I was like, wow, and I literally had to play this for like 5 hours straight, as part of this playtest ordeal. So, spending that much time with something, you probably get burnt out by like hour 3, but I kept going and it was good. But once it finally came out, it's not anything for them. They probably are top tier in terms of their class of these battle royale games.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I'm not a big fan of the battle royale genre. So like even hearing this news, it doesn't excite me. If they were to literally put the Titans into the game, into Apex, maybe I won't even say maybe that would convince me to install it. It's free to play on Steam,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So not a big deal. That would entice me to install it, but even then, I don't know if I would keep it because Timefall 2 is still very valuable. I hop on there. I won't even say once a month, but when I get an itch to, I hop on, and there's still a thriving community there. It's still a very fun game to play. It looks good still, and there is no other game like it. So it's cool that they're doing this, but Titanfall fans want a new Titanfall. That's
Right.
what we want.
How,
Like I've been begging for Titanfall VR for years now. It's just such an obvious thing, and they did a they did a Medal of Honor game instead. So sometimes, like, do these developers even know? Do they listen?
yeah, but do they? So here's the question though. Do they feel like, because Titanfall has a narrative to it? Do you think that maybe they're hanging on because they don't want to push a terrible storyline out? Like we're not just trying to hash out a quick game where the community is just going to trash on it in a couple of days after release.
Honestly, I think what the problem is I think it's EA as a company. Like Respawn is behind Apex. They were behind the Jedi Fallen Order game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're behind Titanfall. The quality of their work speaks for itself. It is good. It gets better with every new thing that they do. So it could be, hey, we have to fulfill these things to make EA happy with some things that are profitable. Like Apex still probably makes them a ton of money because of the microtransactions.
Right.
Um, Jedi Fallen Order was a critical success, so that's good to get under your belt. So I think maybe after finishing that, maybe they do have this Titanfall thing in the background somewhere that they're working on. Maybe that's how you kind of slowly bring it back into the mainstream by putting it into something like Apex. But I if they are going to do it, they should announce it soon because people are getting upset about it. Like, and I mean, it doesn't have any impact on how good the game's going to be or how well it's going to sell.
Right.
If they announce it early, it's more just like a feel good thing. Like people would be happy to know that it's in development because something like this, it kind of rubs me the wrong way because I'm like, yeah, you're doing this, but you could easily just announce, hey, we are working on this, and here's the first bit of content you can expect, to kind of see as we get closer to release or whatever.
Well, maybe this is like a little breadcrumb that we can nibble on until
Yeah,
Titanfall 3 comes out. Because I mean, the summer announcement season is right around the corner, so this could very
yeah,
well be a let's test the waters. Let's see how our community reacts to this type of information. Like, can we get more hype for Titanfall? Can we reopen those discussions about Titanfall 3? And if that's the case, hey, we got this brand new trailer for you. You know, like
yeah,
one of those types of setups. It wouldn't be the first time that something like that has happened either, where the waters were tested with something on a very, very small, easy to do scale. And then, it just became reality within the next year.
yeah. I'm with you on that, and I would, like I said, Tom in chat said he'll go back to Apex if it's good. I'll do the same thing, even just out of curiosity. If they put Titans into Apex, I will come back just to see how they play. See if there's something there I could be like, oh, these are updated textures. They're definitely doing something. That's how people found out about Half
Right.
Life when things start popping up in Team Fortress and in Gary's mod. So even from that perspective, I'll check it out. I really hope this does lead to a new Titanfall. It's one of the most underrated games that's come out in recent years. Like Titanfall 2 was such a big improvement over Titanfall 1, and I'm going to play it tonight. I am because it's so good, man. The whole Titan gameplay is just so unique.
Oh, very. I mean, there's still a ton of videos that are actively being published on YouTube and Twitch
Yeah,
uh, for Titanfall 2. So the multiplayer is definitely a unique multiplayer experience. It can be, a watered down into the FPS genre, but it's definitely a lot more than that.
yeah, very much so.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Do-do-do. Sony's obsession with blockbusters is stirring unrest within PlayStation Empire. What's your take on this one, Steve?
Yeah, so shout out to Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg. You probably recognize the name
Mm-hmm.
from his time at Kotaku. He's who most developers call a press sneak fuck because they really hate him because he does stuff like this. He really gets in deep with the actual employees, and the employees are always willing to tell the dirt on the company because they want things to get better. And you think that by whistleblowing that will help. So in this case, it's kind of a sad story. It's really the story of the studios that have been putting out titles for Sony. That got decent critical success, maybe not the commercial success, but they did well enough that they should be able to get a sequel out of them. And what happened? The title specifically was Days Gone, which I know Tom in chat he's been talking about recently. But that title, it was not up to the quality of a God of War or a Horizon Zero Dawn, but it was still a perfectly acceptable game. It has some pretty unique gameplay mechanics in it. Had a decent narrative, and they wanted to do a sequel to it. And Sony just shot them down and said, "No, we're going to fold you into a team that is making the next Uncharted game."
Mm,
And then Jason also found another studio, other employees from another studio who what they wanted to do was to make a remake of the first Last of Us for PS5. They
okay.
started a prototype. I want to say maybe the team was like maybe 100 people or so, but they started a prototype of it. And again, Sony came in and said, "No, we need you to move over to this other project," which I forgot what the code name was, but there's a another AAA project that Sony's working on, and they folded that team into that. So what we're starting to see, and what was kind of reiterated over and over through this article, is that the people who are at Sony, and a lot of them have actually left after this stuff, after their teams get broken apart and they see they're just being put on to the next shovelware type title.
Right.
What they're seeing is that Sony is less reliant on giving people this free spirit to kind of work on their unique ideas. And they want to just keep churning out Last of Us, God of War, Uncharted. They want to just keep churning out the stuff that they know are blockbuster AAA games. And my perspective on it is it is intentional. I think that they're completely doing this to be to be the yin to Microsoft's yang. Microsoft is going for this huge wide ocean of Game Pass, era where you can, Netflix style consumption where you log in and there's hundreds of games, all different types. The quality's all over the place, and that's not to say some of them are bad. I just mean in terms
Right.
of like you've got your indies, you've got your double A's, you've got your triple A's, and you've got your huge blockbusters. And I think Sony's like, you know what? We're just gonna keep doing the blockbusters because we can't compete on quantity. We can't compete in terms of creativity. With the indie stuff, they're notorious for not really supporting any developers over on the Sony side of things. So yeah, I think I get it. It's just I think we've talked about this on other episodes too. Sony is fighting a battle instead of a war. Like this type of thinking is only going to get you so far because we're getting closer and closer to the generation where the hardware is not going to matter anymore. Like you're not going to need a specific box to play 99.9% of your games. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like you and me, we joke. I always joke at those end of the year kind of things where Sony emails you and says, "Oh, here's everything you played last year." And there's years where I have nothing on there because I only use my PS5 for exclusives, and it's very enlightening at that point. It's like they really don't. Even if you count all of them, like yeah, they have some that are good, but they don't have that many because there's complete years where I don't even turn the thing on.
Yeah, and then it falls back to that whole, dollar per hour of entertainment metric that we like to use, internally
Yeah,
amongst our friends. And you look at it and you're like, oh, my PS4 time spent was only, 6 hours on a single title across the entire last 365 days. That's not, the console has not paid itself off in entertainment value at all at that point. So, it runs that risk of, if they keep going down the path of exclusivity, blockbuster titles. I mean, I like their exclusive titles. I am normally a Xbox player, or PC player actually is more accurate, but in the console world, I play more Xbox titles than anything else. But I do have a PS4. Uh, but it came back to that dollar per hour of value whenever it came time to purchase the PS5. My wife and I were looking at it and we're like, hey, we spent, only this many hours, and some of those hours were of a game that we don't even play, an MMO title, Final Fantasy 14, that we don't even play anymore. So what are we going to get out of this for the extreme price, not just price, but time it takes to even buy one now?
yeah,
That's the other big issue with this launch, is that it takes so much time to purchase these consoles now. You can't just, oh, I'm gonna go to Best Buy today and pick me up a PlayStation. It's not happening. It's just not
is that
happening.
Mario?
Sure, it can be if that's what you want it to be.
I'm not picking me up a
I'm gonna pick me up
PlayStation.
a PlayStation.
Uh, yeah, hey, it's just man, Microsoft, they're building this great fucking ecosystem, man. It's funny. So I'll be honest for the sake of this. I still think Game Pass is the best deal in all of gaming. It's just not great for me because I buy the specific games I want. I don't really test the waters that much with a lot of the indie and the double A stuff. But I've been buying their games like crazy on Steam, like games that I had already played on Game Pass for months, like
Mm-hmm.
Forza Horizons, State of Decay. What was the one I bought today? I can't remember off the top of my head. Sea of Thieves. I bought that one today. So
Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are doing the same thing and double dipping, like, they stay in that Netflix subscription service for a few months, they're like, "Oh, man," it opens their eyes to what all Microsoft has to offer, but then for whatever reason, they might drop out like me and just say, "Hey, you know what? I'll still support them. I'll just buy the games outright versus being in the ecosystem," and I don't think that they care either way because either way, they still have you or you're still in their mind.
Right. You're still in their mind. You're still a body that is turning on an Xbox at the end of the day. Or if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you're turning on a computer, which is
Yeah,
also likely a Microsoft. I don't know if the Xbox app works on Mac yet. I don't think it
or
does.
Linux.
That'd be crazy though if it did. Um I mean I can almost promise you it definitely doesn't work on the M1 Max. But back to the story though. If they start walking away from, I mean, they're in a hard spot because that is what people go to PlayStation for, are those big blockbuster exclusives that they keep churning out. If they don't follow that model, how long until they start losing their player base? How long until
Yeah,
more people like you and me are like, PS5, what's that? I don't need that. I'm just going to stick to my
yeah.
computer. It
There's a way to do both. There really is. It's I don't want to say lazy, but it kind of is because when they do this, it's saying we don't have the resources to go out and find more people to supplement the other teams that we have. We have to steal from these little teams that we brought on with the intention of letting them continue to do the indie stuff because I can tell you every little indie studio that Sony has underneath them,
Hmm.
they talk to the owner. The owner at some point said, we love our culture here. We really want to be able to keep that together. We want to be able to work on the games that we want." And whoever signed the deal said, "Yeah, you'll be able to do that." Ink got dried, and now it's, "Hey, we want you to work on fucking Ratchet and Clank 6." Ratchet and Clank is great, by the way. I'm just saying, but
It is.
that's basically what it is, though. These guys didn't come on to do this, and that's why they left when their teams got disbanded and moved on to these other projects. They said, "No, I'd rather go work for myself. You can be on Steam and make a living." I mean,
Right.
Jesus, there's so many other ways to make a living outside of the companies. The reason why these guys sign up is because they want a guaranteed source of income, and they think that by joining a place with these other teams, they'll get that kind of help. Like, "Oh, hey, here's something you guys should try out tech wise or something." Not, "Hey, please go work on this big AAA game that you never wanted to."
Right. God of War
Yeah,
18. Even though you were
yeah,
brought in as an indie dev, go ahead and work on God of War 18. It'll be great.
exactly. I think if I'm right, Archie, I think our next article kind of is a perfect segue from this. If I'm correct.
I believe so. Do-do-do-do.
Yeah. So kind of on the other side of the coin, we have from an insider that has leaked a bunch of stuff regarding Microsoft in the past. But Archie, you and me were talking about this prior to the show. But recently there have been a lot of teases and kind of wink winks and hints from Xbox regarding both working with Kojima as well as working on some type of project with the Nintendo Switch. Um, and this insider is saying that it's not just a coincidence, that this is definitely intentional, and that we should all be keeping our eyes and our ears open for some news probably soon regarding some type of partnership with Kojima and with Nintendo. Now, not collaborative with all three of those, but that
Right.
separate partnerships with each of those. And just curious from you, what do you make of this? What do you think possibly up? And before I toss it there, I'll say one thing. The Kojima thing was specifically noted as they're doing that because they want to target that Japanese audience,
Which
which we've talked about
I've
a lot
hit
in the
hard
past.
on in past episodes, because that Japanese
Yeah,
audience, it's such a huge share market that Microsoft still can't seem to break into, because they have the homebodies like Nintendo and Sony. So a partnership with Nintendo could mean everything for Microsoft's next step. I don't know what that step could be. We've had rumors like this in the past where it turned out to be something as simple as, I think the rumors were based around, oh, there's going to be Xbox Live is coming to your Nintendo Switch, and then it turned out that yeah, it was network based, but it was only Minecraft crossplay being turned on, and getting Nintendo's side of it figured out so that crossplay could be enabled, and they helped them out with that. And then the other one was Banjo Kazooie coming to Smash, because Microsoft and Xbox, they own Rare Studios, which has the rights to Banjo and I think like Conker's Bad Fur Day and Perfect Dark. So
yeah,
I I want to be hopeful and be like, oh yeah, because there was the recent news that I don't think we covered where Xbox Live is no longer Xbox Live. It's Xbox Network. And that kind
yeah,
of does introduce that subtle vagueness of like,
yeah.
okay, maybe
Just
there's some craziness in here.
Yeah, and to clarify that, because that one did get reported a lot. So Xbox Live does still exist. It's only the actual infrastructure in the
Right.
background.
Right.
So, but still, to your point though, that's probably even bigger evidence because what it leads up to is other companies now, just like Amazon, AWS, and all that. Other companies that want to tap into this infrastructure that Xbox has already built. Okay, great. You're on an Xbox network, and it separates itself from Xbox Live, which is specific to the Xbox platform. Um, I have a couple thoughts on this. So I want to talk first about that Nintendo Switch thing. I think you are right on. There's probably a lot of little things that they could do, very
Mm-hmm.
subtle things like, oh, here's a bunch of Xbox. You got Master Chief, you've got Banjo, you've got all these different guys that can go easily into a Smash game. You've got the properties that they own, which they could say, hey, you know what, we're remastering all these just in a collection, the Rare collection, and it's also going to be out on Nintendo. Rare's coming back home to Nintendo. They could do
Right.
something like that. um, One thing I thought would be kind of cool, because Perfect Dark was originally a Nintendo title, like if they were to release that and somehow there was a different port of it just for the Switch, I thought that would be kind of cool if they did something like that. One last thing though. So imagine a world where Nintendo does know that they're having this Pro edition coming out at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and they also announce at the same time, or Xbox announces at E3 that they're going to make xCloud available to the Nintendo Switch. And now the Switch has this Pro model, so hey, you know what is 720 or 480 streaming on the regular Switch, but over on the full Switch we have 1080p streaming of Xbox, whatever xCloud titles now.
With
And
the
of
new
course,
Ethernet enabled dock, like crazy
yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot they could do there on the Kojima side. It's kind of boring to me. Like Kojima's great. I love his games and
Mm-hmm.
everything. It's kind of boring to me. Like, oh hey, here's Kojima. Japanese people, please come play.
Right.
So we'll see more about that. There's nothing inherently about the Xbox that really says to me like, oh, it's a system for Kojima. Like it's not. I can get the argument for the PS5 because it's got the adaptive, triggers and all that. Like that's something where, oh, he wants to use this tech in an interesting way.
Right.
With the Xbox, it's a little more boring on that side, other than the network and stuff. They have a better grasp of that. And if you think back to Death Stranding, maybe if that was his soft implementation of a multiplayer type world, maybe he gets with these guys and he expands upon that. So there's that angle from it. But for that, it's more of a hey, I'll just wait and see at this point. Wait
Yeah.
and see.
So we reported a couple weeks ago too about the whole Bethesda buyout by Microsoft, and one of those sub companies underneath ZeniMax, like Bethesda is also responsible for their. I won't really call them horror titles. They're definitely more like suspense titles, like oh, I can't believe I can't think of the name now.
Resident Evil,
No,
Silent Hill.
not Resident Evil. It's not any of those big ones, unfortunately. It's I don't know, irrelevant. We all know who they are at home. So it could just be like, hey, we're gonna get him to work on a project through one of our, like it's a down chain thing. I don't think that the Kojima thing. Obviously, it's gonna be big news because he's a big deal in the industry. But I don't think it's going to be like Xbox releases the Kojima edition of Xbox Series Kojima. It's nothing like that. It's not going to be anything overly huge. I don't think. I think that the Xbox with Nintendo situation is something that probably is more worth people's time to keep an eye on, because it could be something as simple as, oh yeah, Nintendo now is going to move away from Nintendo Online, and they're going to adapt into the Xbox network so that you and your friends can cross play super easy. And but you still need a or not PlayStation. You still need a Nintendo Online account. Can't have you not buying that. Or it could be something like what you said, the xCloud thing. They're really pushing that, and it works. I don't know if you've tried it or not, but I've played it on a couple of different devices wirelessly over just normal, 2 point whatever gigahertz Wi-Fi, and it's still pretty great. Even on shooting titles, there's definitely latency you can feel, but you can tell when you go back to them every once in a while that they are actively working on fixing that latency issue. And Miss Archie in the chat said that it would be an awesome idea to have Game Pass on Switch. And I did read an article about that earlier today where that was a possible proposal that was being worked out. But their concern was that there'd be two different storefronts, but it doesn't mean that would not be any more difficult than what it is right now, which is there's the Game Pass for Xbox and then there's the Game Pass for PC. Not all Xbox titles work on Game Pass PC, and not all PC titles work on Game Pass Xbox. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that I would like to see. I think it would be interesting to see what this new. I mean, Xbox has been just all over the place this last 2 years on their crazy advancements in the gaming realm. It would be very interesting to see what could be done if the two of them, Xbox and Nintendo, really put their heads together and were like, hey, let's make some magic happen. If anyone could do it, it would be those two.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out on this story. because I think it's going to be it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be wild and no one's going to understand what's happening until it's happened, or it's going to fizzle out and people are going to be confused as to what happened, if anything. All right, so is it time for our radar, Steves?
It is. It is.
Radars, not multiple Steves, multiple radars.
Who do we got up first? Is it you and me?
I'll go first. So, because it'll be fast. Most of you are aware that, because I think we reported this earlier on a different episode, but Diablo 2 Resurrected has its alpha currently, and it's a game that really introduced me. Probably one of the first PC titles, I think. Right up there with Doom. I think it was like Doom 2 or Doom 3D maybe. One of the first couple of PC titles that really got me interested in the PC gaming, along with Myst, even though I have no clue how to play Myst. Even to this day, I have no idea how to play Myst.
Just click around.
Just click around. That's all I did. And that was fun enough at the time. But there's a lot of improvements that they're making graphically.
Wow.
They're obviously doing resolution updates for the more modern PCs. I don't think it's been confirmed if ultra wide is going to be a thing, but Diablo, the current Diablo, runs an ultra wide just fine. So I don't know why that would be an issue. My only takeaway though from this is I hope it works really well, and it does well, but I don't want it to work so well that Blizzard's like, hey, you know that Immortals mobile title we were building that you all hated? Let's spit that out into reality. Like, that's, I don't want that. Yeah, we all have phones, but who the hell wants a watered down pay to win Diablo experience? Like, that's not, that's not at all what we want.
Yeah. I've been into Baldur's Gate recently. Like,
yeah,
I haven't played it, but I've been watching like a lot of streams from it. It's in early access, so it'd be a while before I think I'll grab it, just because I don't want to go through that whole thing of save files getting corrupted because they did this type of patch and all that. But yeah, it looks good, and it kind of looks like a good spiritual successor to this.
Speaking of corrupted save files, have you seen the news on this? Is not planned at all. Have you seen the news for Outriders? They did a cross-platform play patch, and some people are losing progress, and a lot of people are losing their entire inventories.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Imagine Destiny Year 1, your Galahorn gets deleted.
I think the disc would just get snapped in half at that point. There'd be no saving that game after that.
Is that your most prestigious gaming moment ever?
What, getting Galahorn?
Yeah.
No, it has to be that first Atheon raid. That's probably like one of my
really?
that or the moment that we network land switched the hell out of poor Crota off of his throne.
So I've only I think there's only maybe like 2 or 3 times where I could probably think of them off the top of my head. So I'll say the first Sephiroth battle from Kingdom Hearts, like beating that.
Yep.
Where I was like, holy shit, yeah.
Let's go.
If I can get in the Galahorn, like, because for me, if you remember, I was like one of the last people to get it. Like, that took me
we raided a lot just to help you get that Galahorn.
Running every raid 3 times a week off across every character. Like, oh my god, it was so bad. That, and then recently was God of War, finishing all of the
Valkyries, yeah.
Yeah, like that one, because that last battle, my girlfriend actually had to help me beat that one.
The queen, the queen Valkyrie.
Yeah, she had to help me beat
it's
that
rough.
One. Yeah, because she I was, so when it's funny because another time this happened to me, so random, but way back in the day, the Lion King game on Sega,
the Game Gear,
like
the Genesis,
not even
one.
The Game Gear, the actual Genesis. I had the game. I can never get past with the hippos and the monkeys and all that, with the puzzle. And I went to the dentist one day, and they had the game in the lobby, and I beat it like the first time. It's like, oh, okay. Sometimes you just have to pull yourself out of it, take a break, and
just woosah for a little bit.
Yeah, but though getting the Galahorn though, I yelled when like Tom said, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, those were good times, good times. I'm trying to think of, like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of clutch moments, not because the moments themselves are clutch, just because
Yeah.
I just get so overly hyped in situations sometimes that I'm just like, yes, let's go, let's do
Yeah,
this.
that's funny.
All right, so that's all for what's on my radar. Diablo 2 Resurrected, it's an alpha. Go to Blizzard's website, you can sign up.
Cool, cool. So yeah, the game I picked was the day before. If you could skip forward in this gameplay footage a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
they call this a trailer, but it's 14 minutes, so it's definitely the longest trailer I've ever seen. But if you remember, we looked at this a little while ago on the podcast, and what you originally said was, "Man, it looks so much like a Division knockoff," because it was, they were showing the city and everything, but like looking at this now, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this looks really impressive to me. So
It
it's going to
does.
be a like an MMO title, but you can see this variety of like the what is this, like the biome? I guess you could say, like they're out
Right.
in the forest. So maybe at some point you are, maybe this is earlier in the. It's not really a campaign though. Usually, if you think of MMO, you have access to the entire world at any point. So
Right.
maybe the way the gameplay is layered keeps them from being here the whole time. Maybe this is like a scavenger mission. I'm not really sure, but it looks really damn good. I put it, I have it bookmarked for the news because I think that they're going to do like an alpha or something. But from what I've seen, I'm really impressed. And I'm curious from you, do you have any room in your schedule to even try out a MMO title like this?
No, I don't. I mean, to try it, sure, but to actually stick with it and feel it through, no. I want to give this a try just because while I did call it a Division clone, it's still that alone makes it interesting to me. To see what they're trying to do. The time that we talked about this game last time, we had a ton of comments on that video discussing this very game of like, hey, it looks suspiciously good. Like you're not sure why you're so suspect about it, but
But look at this.
it's
There's
very
nothing.
suspect.
Like, there's nothing here that makes me go like, unless they are the king of making clunky shit look smooth, it looks pretty damn smooth, right?
Yeah, this video it definitely looks less scripted, I would say. Even though the intro where the cars are driving through the trails,
Yeah,
that
killing the
I
scenery.
mean,
But
that's definitely scripted.
look at that, the little things in the background doing his little whoop. What game does
the
that?
the
You don't know
wacky
any.
wavy floating inflatable tube man.
You got Lola Cola. It looks good, man. I don't know. Did the other thing I'm noticing now too, the day night cycle, like it kind of changed, right?
Oh, it did change, yeah.
Yeah, like and that changed very naturally. I didn't even realize until it was too late.
I didn't realize that either. How far does this go in? Okay, so we're like looting a store to get goods and whatnot.
Yeah. So and to be honest, I didn't even watch the full video because I
Mm-hmm.
kind of one of the things I've started to do with games like now is like I'll get a brief impression. I'll be like, okay, I want to play it, but I don't want to consume too much to where I
Right.
start building too many expectations. I do kind of like just jumping in and being like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I didn't see any of this before, but like all that immersive type stuff is really what you need to make a MMO really feel like an MMO. If it's too quick and actiony, like, oh, you press a button and you loot everything, or there is no filling of the tires, like all those little touches make it feel like you're living in a real world. At
Now
least what it
I
looks like.
wonder what the degree of like PvE versus PvP uh scenarios are going to be like, cuz we obviously just saw them the people in the video were trying to repair their truck. The tires popped somehow. We skipped past that part. Tires popped somehow. They went to go repair and then they were attacked by zombies, which very clearly were NPC type players. But now we're on this farmstead and I don't know if we're about to start stepping on other human players or if they're just human NPCs.
Yeah, I went to the game page just to kind of see really quick if there
Mm-hmm.
was anything that specifically called out if it's PvE or PvP focused in. I don't really see anything, but
I
yeah,
mean,
it
if it's
doesn't really
supposed to be like an open world MMO style of a game, then I'd imagine that there'd be some Rust elements in here where you can either team up with a bunch of randos and survive this horde, and then you can
oh,
just
you know what?
pop a cap in all three of them and run off with everything.
Yeah, so I'm on the Steam page, and it does say online PvP and online co-op. So
Oh, ooh,
okay, cool. One of the things I like though, so from the description, it says here, find a colony of survivors. So take part in the restoration of the former society before it's too late. In survivor colonies, you can sell your loot and communicate safely with other players. So it sounds like you'll be able to have maybe different colonies that you can join. Maybe that's like how the clan system will work, and
right.
like that's something I've always wanted from a game. Like I don't know if you've ever played Mercenaries, but like you have this
Yes.
wide open world. You've got the map that shows you where every like clan kind of lives. Like oh, here's this territory that they control. Like I can't believe we don't have a game yet where like that, but on a larger scale, like Risk. You join a faction and you guys are literally fighting for different pieces of the map at all times. Like that would be incredible, but no one's done it. And it seems like such a brilliant thing. Like I know you obviously you can't have 1,000 different communities on one
Right.
server, but do seasons. So everyone at the beginning of the season, hey, you're locked in randomly. Bam, here's your group of who you guys are fighting with. And sometimes players might fall out and shit, but that just made it easier for the other people. Or as people fall out due to inactivity, another group gets to come in or something. I don't know. There's a way to do it, and it's a $1 billion idea. Hire me. Got
I
you.
mean, there's definitely a way to do it because so a lot of people don't know that the predecessor for Pokemon Go was a title called Ingress, and that is the
Yeah,
concept of Ingress. It's like Pokemon Go minus the Pokemon, except the teams you're all fighting for dominance over the actual map and how you
yeah.
get those points. This is creepy. I
Grandma.
hate mannequins. I hate
What the
mannequins.
hell?
This is unsettling. This video.
Have you ever seen that naked grandma clip
Uh
from Family
no.
Feud?
From Family
So
Feud.
there's a clip on Family Feud and it says, "Name something if you were a burglar you would hate to see if you broke into a house." And people are naming like dogs or whatever, and this guy like split second reaction says, "Naked grandma."
Naked grandma. I mean, he's
I
not wrong.
I can't remember if it was on the board or not. I can't remember.
Oh man, I hope it was. I hope he got points for it because that was a genius answer. They
So
should have
this
just
is
given him extra points. Yeah, this is definitely like PV. Well, not PvP, but you're teaming
PvE.
up with people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if this is like a scripted mission because MMOs can have scripted missions. Like you
Right.
definitely get a lot of random type. Maybe they went the extra mile and they just script some very good missions, but
Or
looks
like
good. I
you
like it.
instance a zone where it's just like you and your party type of deal.
Yeah, but
Uh,
the developer is called Fantastic. They did The Wild 8, which was a pretty cool game actually. Dead Dozen, which I've never heard of, but has
me
terrible
neither.
reviews, and Radiant One, which was a $3 game. So not a lot to go on. And usually I'm so skeptical of anything that's early access, which this isn't, but anything that's like indie type studio
hmm
and online multiplayer, I'm always like, it's gonna
One of
be
my
tricky.
fears though is, you know, kind of like too much success is kind of a bad thing for an early access title. I talked about this whenever we went over Valheim, and Valheim is definitely, they've been keeping up with updates and everything, but the amount of content has not been as great as one would hope for an early access title. Obviously things take time. I think it's only like a 10-man crew or something with Valheim, and I don't know these developers at all. But the fact that their only other existing titles on Steam have terrible reviews or ones that no one has heard of makes it a little disheartening. It's hard to keep your hopes up whenever something like that sets up. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it and still report on it because it does look good. It has all those check boxes for a good game. It's just, whether or not it gets implemented correctly is all that it's up to. And this is definitely a scripted, E3 style trailer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you're on IGN, pay some money to get on there.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
but let's get to my favorite part of the show. Let's talk about what we played last week. Let's start with
Last
you
week. So
because last week you played a few. I think you played a ton of everything you played last week is a game I love. So
So
Let's chat.
I finished up Injustice 2, and the storyline, we chatted a little bit about the ending. I don't want to spoil it cuz I still think everyone should go out and play this game if you haven't. It is on
Yeah.
Game Pass. Go play it.
Oh, cool.
But the ending, definitely, there's two endings, so just know that. Uh I liked it. I did not like some of the characters. I'm not a pro fighter gamer, so that
Yeah.
definitely didn't help my case at all. One of the most infuriating parts in here is when you start fighting as Kara. Like, she is
Oh
just
yeah.
so floaty. I've never gotten verbally upset at a fighting game because I
Oh,
understand that
that's
I'm
funny.
trash at it, but I was so
Yeah,
upset in the moment. It's like, God, come on. And
that's funny.
it's it was a good game. I will maybe go back to it to try and learn a little bit more, because even though I'm not a good fighting game player, I can still learn the combos pretty well, as long as the combo
Yeah.
system makes sense. Um, which
Damn.
is
So
kind of
you liked it.
odd. Yeah, I
What'd
liked
you
it.
So you say you did like some characters. What was it something that they were different belief of how they should be portrayed, or you just didn't like the way they controlled?
If I didn't like a character, it was predominantly because of how they controlled.
Oh, okay,
I'm
gotcha.
not a huge DC um, DC fan, not because it's not good content or source material. Just growing up, I didn't have those comic books. Those weren't the ones that I picked up. Um, Even though I did pick up a lot of Batmans. Batman was my jam, and I do have currently um yes, Tom the Greek. I did play on very easy mode and I still struggled. That's how terrible I am at fighting games. And I don't know
That's
why.
funny.
It's just like I just want a button jam. That's what I used to do back in like the Tekken 3 days on PS1. And that got me through very hard mode back in the day. So that I never bothered to learn it. So just playing as Eddie Gordo, just tapping on those buttons,
Oh
not
my
even
goodness,
using directions.
that's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, so the content, the material, like the source material, though, this is all slightly new source material. I didn't like that we are in universe B. Whenever you play through the first one, it's very well established that there's a universe A and a universe B in the Injustice story. Um, Most of Injustice 2 takes place in universe B, like 90% of it, if not all of it. Um, I would have liked to have seen what happened in Universe A as well, but we didn't get that part in Injustice 2. But it's a good storyline. Like, you and I both agreed whenever the Superman, the last actual Superman movie came out, that we just didn't enjoy it. It was too, you sat through the movie and you're like, great, Superman's gonna knock it out of the park. Yay. We already know what's happening. And it just kind of like loses that excitement. But as you can probably tell by the title card here for Injustice 2, Superman is not your friend, and that's when it got interesting for me. Is seeing all the different audibles being called, like how would Hal Jordan respond to Superman? And it turns out he was a little bitch because he just caved.
He didn't respond well.
He
We
did
can
not
say that
respond
much.
well.
So my favorite thing about this game was how Superman was portrayed. Like, and it's cool when you get to see him be portrayed in a similar way in the Justice League movie,
Mm-hmm.
or the Zack Snyder's version at least. But the difference in it is that they do it so much better in the game, actually. Like,
Oh yeah.
you take him seriously, and like, I don't know how you felt, but like, there was parts where I was like, man, he is very fucking threatening. Like, every time he's in a room, like, you're like, oh man,
Man, the moment he took the controls and plugged them into
oh
his
yeah,
temples, I was like, oh no, because I picked the
yeah.
Batman. I picked the Batman side
Oh,
at
gotcha.
the end, because you can make that choice of taking Batman's side or Superman's side for those who
Yeah,
haven't played. Um, and the moment he plugged the ship into himself, I was like, oh no, this is the
yeah. He was
wrong answer.
Yeah, he was a badass, and it's cool too because like all the other members, I don't want to say the Justice League, but just for simple sake, like all the other members of the DC universe, like anytime they're around him, like, you could tell that they also were like, "Oh,
On
man," like, none of
edge.
them really agree with, "Well, let's do this or die," basically, so fantastic game. I There are some rumors that there was a third one coming in. The guy from Twitter, Instagram, the boss. I can't remember his real name. Logic.
Yes, yes.
He had mentioned that something regarding like NetherRealm and which is a studio that does these as well as DC. So I think if at all there's a time for it, right now is probably it because especially they see the success of the Snyder Cut. There might be a world where they say, "Hey, Zach, you know what? You can write a new game. That's how we'll finish off your story. You could write a game."
Yeah.
Maybe they could get all the cast to come back and voice the characters or something. Because I think, if I'm correct, there's something where he mentioned that he has spent a lot of time with the Injustice team.
Yes.
Yeah, so who knows? Who knows? But good. So what else did you play?
So I played a little bit of Control. Game has a very creepy start. One of the very first things that I did, again, it's not spoilers, but you walk into this government building, you go up the stairs, and you go around, and a janitor tells you that you were hired for a job, and just keep on going down the path. And then I got down the path, and I was like, wait a second, this looks like the exact same place I just left from. How does that work out? I had no clue. I know of Control. I have no clue what it was
Uh,
about. So I look and I'm like, wait a second. There's front doors here. Why? There should be no front doors here. I just came from the place that has front doors. So I went to walk back and then I turned the corner and it's just a dark corner at this point. I'm like, oh no, it's that kind of game. And that's whenever I texted you. I'm like, I'm not happy with this, Steve.
oh man, but they do it. So you say you got a few hours in.
Yes. Yes.
So after a few hours in, how do you feel about?
I like the game. I'm gonna keep playing it. I again without spoilers. I am just to the point where the what is her name? There's some official lady that's helping you. I think she's like blonde haired. I've not met the doctor yet. Either way, we'll continue. I'm a couple hours in. The gameplay feels smooth. The combat leaves a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. But I also feel like it's a game that isn't trying to be a combat game, which for that, especially whenever they like openly are okay with you not, following the rules of combat very well. When they're okay with that, like they don't hammer you for it, then I'm like, all right, cool. I'll forgive you for having kind of, I would say, lackluster. And mind you, I know that there are abilities that you get at some point. I do not have those yet, so that might change. That might change the game up a little bit for me. But as a whole, from what I've started so far, I like it. I'm enjoying it. And then after I played a little bit of Control, I decided to finally earn my wings and play
You
some
did it.
Elite Dangerous. I did it. I did it. Actually, that was the whole reason why I rearranged my entire desk area was to have my Rift sensors up in a place of like standard use because
Dude,
I will be putting the VR headset on for this.
you're gonna have so much fun. It is that is there's like a couple things that you give people like if they're over at your house and like, oh, I want to try VR out. Of course, you probably first go for what's the
Beat Saber.
yeah, you probably go for that because it's fun. Everybody can get into. If you're like if a gamer comes over and you really
Oh
want to
yeah,
experience high, you probably give them super hot and then you give them this because the scale of it. Have you actually had a chance to try it out with the VR yet?
not yet. Nope.
Dude, the scale of it is so massive. Like when you go to your first store, that's where you're gonna be like, holy shit. Even just sitting inside your ship and seeing like how big the different types of
The
stations you've got.
stations,
Some of
right?
the yeah, like the ones that are big, kind of globe like in the middle of them. It's just insane, dude. I don't play as much, but like this kind of shit too that we're seeing on screen with the fighter jets, like all that stuff. Like if you really get into it and you've got some time to play it, like I'll hop in there with you. We'll get in VR. We'll have the best fucking time because it's just so good in VR, man. Like they handle it better than any other game. It's the seated experiences, something about those, like I call them cockpit experiences, but like
Right.
the seated stuff is really where you get the best experience. Like it just feels so natural, like being able to look out your corner, to see this guy that you got to go back over to shoot or something like that is good.
Yeah, so I think I told you this, but whenever I first got out into the wild and under my own control, I was like, "Oh, hey, let me go find there's a little blip on the radar. Let me go see what this is real quick." And as I got closer, it was like shields are low on this car or this ship that was flying by. I was like, "Oh,
Oh man.
low shields. Does that mean it's an enemy?" I don't know. Combat mode engaged. Blah, 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 blah. And then next thing you know, I'm just getting lit up from all different angles from different ships because I had a bounty on my head suddenly. And I'm just like trying to speed my happy butt out of there. And nope, I ended up getting
Yeah.
blown up. I had only been
So,
in control for about 10 minutes, Steve, before I got blown
oh
up.
Jesus. That is that's funny. But the that happens a lot, even to expert players. So you have the auto landing thing. You know, you should have it at least in your op. Got
Yes.
That's a tool. A lot of people, if you talk to the experts online, they're like, "Why are you wasting a slot on that?" For me, it's because of that. I could just lose focus sometimes. You know, it's
Hmm.
like a car accident. Sometimes you just take your eyes off the steering wheel. So you figured out the cruise thing, though. You know, when you're coming into a location
Yes.
out of
It
cruise, and
took me a
good.
while to figure that out, but I did end up doing it. And it also kind of highlighted the fact that while the beginning control scheme I would say is okay, um if, intuitive enough to get you going, it's definitely worth taking the time to go through the controls and go, okay, I'm more comfortable with things
Yeah,
being this way. Like I
absolutely.
changed the roll. I swapped the roll and the yaw on between my mouse and my keyboard. I just changed them
Yeah,
over, and it just made flight 100 times more enjoyable for me. So it's just whatever floats your boat. You got to figure it out. You got to do your controls,
exactly.
and there's not a whole lot of. This is what I appreciate the most. While the first 10 minutes, I would say, is tutorial.
Yeah.
Even with the tutorial, it is not a hand-holdy type of game. It is not like, oh, by the way, you now need to go do this, and how you do this is by X, Y, and Z, and how you do Z is by doing
Oh
A,
yeah.
B, and C. But make sure if you do C that D and F are involved. And you're like, just let me learn, let me figure it out on my own. And this game
Yeah.
lets you do that. And unfortunately, me learning on my own involved my ship blowing up in 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
but it was
It
still fun.
Yeah, they definitely do that, and some people can. I think the reason why I like it is because probably like you said, like 15 minutes into playing this, oh, you're out doing whatever the hell you want. Go do whatever the hell you want.
Hmm.
So it is cool like that, and then it also pushes people to find people in the community, which is kind of how shit would happen in real life. If I
Yeah.
am, I just took off from my home planet, I'm going out into the stars for the first time. I go to my first station. You know, hey, what's a good way to make money out here, man? Like, what's a good place to go for X, Y, and Z? And that's really how people use Discord, things like that. There's so many third-party community tools. It really it makes this feel like such a living world, especially now with
Right.
the new update that I'm testing the alpha build of this Odyssey update that's coming out in the summer. Like that is just a whole nother world because now you physically can get out your ship and go up to other players and see them. They're at the mission boards, they're talking to the same NPCs.
Right.
We're at the bar sitting and drinking. Like it's cool, man. So what type of content have you done so far? I know you did mining. Have you done
I have
combat? Have
not
you
done
done any?
mining yet.
Oh, okay. So you
I'm waiting on. Last time I logged off, I was waiting for my mining laser that I had bought 18 systems away to get shipped to the system that I was in. So I was
oh,
just
jeez.
running. I was basically just running trade routes between
Oh, cool.
like 2 or 3 different star systems, and just learning the markets in there and getting used to all that stuff, and kind of learning also the whole hard point system on your ship, and
Yeah.
figuring all those things out, and just just kind of learning the game, and it was all like self-driven learning. Like nothing was telling me like, oh, you can
Yeah.
only hold 4 things because your ship is too small. Buy this ship today and you can hold 6 things. Like it was nothing like
Yeah.
that. um Learning the
And you haven't run out of
maps.
fuel yet.
No, I have not ran out of fuel yet.
Most people run out of fuel, so
Nope.
kudos to that. That you,
uh,
like so many people, their first time playing,
no.
so there's a group called the Fuel Rats,
Yep.
which is just a player group, but it's like probably tens of thousands of people they have, and no matter where you are in space, if you're ever on a fuel, you just call them up. They have a little Discord server thingy. You get in there, and they ask you where you're at, and they come out and they actually give you fuel and everything. So, like, the world is so cooperative. It's stuff like that really makes it feel real.
I love when communities for games outpace the game themselves. Like that is one of the most I can only imagine as a developer you would feel extremely humbled when you start seeing things like that happen where there's just
Yeah.
these, role playing groups, if that's what you want to call them, role playing groups out there that are just like doing their own thing because they've
Oh
been
yeah.
provided such a strong sandbox environment to do crazy stuff in, and it really brings out that whole emergent gameplay factor. And I mean, games live and die by whether or not they can have emergent factor now.
Yeah. Yeah, so you definitely, I think you picked up a good one. I really hope I can get you to stick with it because I would love to have buddies to go out and do multi-wing shit with and stuff. Over in our Discord, we don't have too many members for it. I'd say maybe like 4 or 5 people who play, but
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see those numbers pick up to where we have enough people to anytime you hop online, hey, I need somebody to help me out. Yes, it's the full universe, but if somebody could be in your side of the bubble, they can come help you. So, I was gonna what else other questions do I have for you? How do you feel about the quality of it, like, polish-wise?
Oh, so polished, so polished. I couldn't see. That's how polished it was. Like this,
You
the this
So you like it
game.
visually too?
Yeah, visually, it's a great game. Uh, through the controls, it's a sim title. It's a sim flight title, so you're never gonna please everybody once you
Yeah.
realize that. And I
Yeah, it doesn't
know,
feel like a real starship to me. From the starships I've flown, it doesn't really
yeah,
feel.
it doesn't feel super immersive for the ships that I have, but it's it's got a lot in it, and I can see where that could be kind of a little overwhelming, but
Yeah.
I do feel like they do a good job at controlling how overwhelmed you feel, because
Yeah.
a lot of sims lose that fight where it's just like, oh, here's these 18 million different metrics to keep track of, and you're like,
Yeah.
maybe I just turn this off and play a different game. Like maybe that's how it works.
Yeah,
But I did not
it's all
feel that way
about,
with this game.
yeah, and this game is money, or you're trying to get resources to upgrade your, to do the engineering stuff, which I don't know
Yeah.
if you got it to peek at yet, which is kind of cool. It works a little bit like the Destiny system of, you put whatever type of resources in, spin a wheel, and you get not even random attributes because you can pick, but what you get, the random value is how good the improvement is. So they all have the same max value and all that kind of stuff to keep things, fair and balanced. But it's how well, like maybe instead of getting 80% to level 5, you get 5% to level 5, stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm glad you're liking it. So you've done the trade in. Love what you said about, it doesn't overwhelm you because it does. It pulls you in. You have the opportunity to do whatever you want. And then if you want to get to the point where you're mastering everything and doing the min max and shit, like you have this huge community where you can go to, and it turns into a whole nother career versus just being, hey, but both play styles work, playing casually as well as playing that.
Oh
I've done
yeah.
both, and right now I'm just simply casual. I hop in, I see what missions I can get from where I'm at, and I go off for a couple hours, and then I feel fine. But you're gonna love the Odyssey update when that comes out too. Like
Oh, for
we're gonna
sure.
have a lot of fun with that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really what kind of got me into it at first. I was like, if I'm going to be good at the Odyssey part, I need to be good at the base
yeah,
game part as well. So let me start the base game part, and I'm pleased with it so far.
good stuff, brother. Good.
What'd you do
So
last
in
week?
terms of this is really I had a great week, man. I got to play a lot of random stuff, so I took kind of a back seat on the flight sim thing.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing great there. Obviously, last week talked about us getting a PC gamer and all of that, but as that is slowing down, I got back to playing just like regular games that I like. So I'm looking at my desktop really quick so I don't miss out on anything. So last week I got to play this WWE game for probably an hour. It was just stupid fun. Like I haven't watched wrestling in years, but I still like to
Mm-hmm.
play the games. They're kind of fun to just play with, your old favorites.
Right.
I re-downloaded the Jurassic World Evolution, which ironically is, and you would never guess it, but it's by the same company of Elite
Frontier.
Dangerous,
Yep.
Frontier. Yeah, they also are behind Planet Coaster, so they use that Planet Coaster tech. Some of the
And
tech even
Planet
from this
Zoo.
game. Yeah, so they have this Jurassic World game, which I liked at launch, but there was a lot of stuff missing, and it was one of those games where it's definitely better to come back when they have, like, some big, game of the year editions, which is
Right.
what happened. I saw a sale on the Steam store where it was like, "Oh, hey, they've got all these new updates." So I went back, and one of my biggest complaints from when it originally came out was that they didn't have just a sandbox mode. You had to do this campaign mode. So if you just wanted to muck
Oh.
around and do whatever, you couldn't. Well, they finally added it, and man, like, I spent all day Saturday just making this huge, island, and I love it. Like, it's just fun. And my favorite thing about this game compared to like The Sims and other games, like when you do those, you're really doing it for like the creativity of like, oh, I want to make this, but I treat this more like a business. I set myself up for failure. I put the difficulty scale all the way up for like the hatch rate for the dinosaurs, how successful that will be.
Hmm.
I put the breakouts to super aggressive. Like I want to see all hell break loose. Like I
You want to
love
see the chaos.
yeah, like, you just saw in that, the video here how the storm so one of the things that happens because you're on these islands, the storm comes through, and that's really what causes the cages and things like that to break. So you have to use the appropriate cages for the dinosaur, for one, but you also have to be mindful that storms cause major damage. You hire, like, ranger teams that are throughout the park and stuff like that, and you have to nothing is automated. So a lot of the sim games, once you hire the teams, they'll go around and clean up and do all
Right.
this stuff automatically. Here, you have to make, so you don't have to worry about trash and shit, thank God, but you have to worry about, like, the stuff of, "Oh, the dinosaur cage needs to be filled up," because if you don't fill it frequently enough and they start getting hungry, they start getting more aggressive. Maybe they start trying to break out their cage more. Hey, the storm is coming, you are we going to put people in the emergency shelters and, potentially lose out on a ton of sales, or are we going to leave them out and potentially have dinosaurs fucking
Leave
eat
them
people?
out. Leave them out.
Yeah. One of the things I like is so a lot of the attractions you can go into yourself. You can ride the monorail that you build. You can go into so if you saw Jurassic World, they had those gyroscope balls that
Right.
you sit in. You can create a ride. Basically, that it's kind of like a safari, but you can create that, have it go through the dinosaur exhibits and all that. You can sit in it and watch. So, like, it's a really fun, relaxing game. Like, I probably burnt myself out on this weekend, so I probably won't come back for a couple weeks or so. But that time I spent with it, I was like, "Man, this is so cool," just, like, being able to like, you really capture the essence of the movie so well, and I
Yeah.
mean, like, you and me, we're probably the perfect age to where that was, like, part of our childhood, like,
Yep.
in fact, last week I was wearing Jurassic Park, shirt on on our podcast,
Yep.
but, yeah, love it. Great game, I think the sale is over. How much is it right now? You
It
scroll down a bit?
is forty four
Yeah.
ninety nine, or you can buy the premium edition for 98.
Yeah, so sale is over now. Definitely, if you're a big fan of the series, go ahead and pick it up for $100 and get all the content. But you can wait for a sale. I got it for like I already had the base game in the box, so
Oh, I lost you
yeah.
for
But
a
it's
second
cool,
there.
man. Like even this, like you can ride in the jeeps. You can shoot the dart gun, like so you when you have the teams like, oh man, a dinosaur broke out. You can hop in the helicopter, hop into the seat with the gunner. You could literally like there's so much different little cute little gameplay things they did. Like you really feel like you're running this park. Like honestly, it's great.
That's pretty cool, and it's nice to see whenever developers take something and they're like, "Hey, we're comfortable with like park sim stuff. Let's just make a
Yeah,
Jurassic Park sim. Why not?" And then they
yeah,
take that extra step and go, "Hey, what if we implemented some type of weird system where, the T-Rex gets out and he eats all your herbivores, things like that."
yeah,
I
exactly,
like seeing things like that because it makes you understand that developer, while they do have a comfort zone, they are also comfortable stepping outside that zone.
exactly, yeah, exactly.
So what else did you play last week?
So I played that. I'm looking here again. I played a little bit of Control just because I figured
Hmm.
that if you were gonna play it again, I wanted to kinda get back into that as well. And then all my other time, man, was spent with Elite Dangerous, to be completely honest, like,
Yeah.
just like you. Being that I play flight sim so much, I need to kind of retrain myself on how to fly spaceships instead because it's completely different. Like, one of the things you said, like, it's pretty easy to get started up in Elite,
Hmm.
hop in, fly. The controls are pretty easy. The muscle memory is pretty good for it. With flight sim, there's so much technical stuff that you have to do. Like, there's so many switches. You have to be mindful of how you actually start up an aircraft, engine temperature, like all that kind of stuff matters in flight sim. So it's been good to take a step back and only have to worry about the simple stuff, but they fly completely different. The only thing that's kind of similar is when you're did you buy the Horizons or did you just buy the base game?
I just have the base game for right now.
Okay, so when you get Horizons, you'll have planetary laners too. So that's the atmospheric flight, and you're dealing with like actual atmospheric flight. So that's more like
Oh,
the main.
that's
But
that's how I get into the planets.
yeah, it's
Oh,
with
then I'm
the
buying
Horizons.
Horizons here pretty shortly. Then
Yeah, it's good, man. That adds the SRV. I don't know if that adds the fighter planes as well, but that's another cool little update for the ships. But yeah, man. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not included. Oh, you know what? Maybe it was included if you bought the Odyssey one.
it
But
might be.
all
Yeah,
right. Anywho, but yeah, so other than that, that was pretty much my week, man. It was great. It was really
it's
good. I got
awesome.
to catch up on a lot of games.
Yeah, and then so this leads us right into our, what we're playing next week. I fully intend, because of all the setup I did over here, to play more Elite Dangerous. I'm gonna set up probably after the stream is done. I'll
Good shit.
reset up my headset and give it give it a couple of flight tests.
Yeah, man. You're trust me, go to a store, to one of those big, huge orange ones. You're gonna be like, holy shit. Those or the have you seen the bright blue ones yet? Like I think they're
Oh
white
yeah,
turbos though.
it almost killed me. Yes.
Oh yeah, those are bad, dude. So remember, the bluer, the hotter.
Right.
Oh man. Oh, so dude, so one thing we got time. So
Hmm.
for like an hour, 10 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
So definitely anything like as you're going about your day, you're coming across science articles and all that. Anytime you see something that's like interesting, like star wise, planet wise, or anything like that, jot the location down and go check out an elite. Like most of the time, like the guys they're pretty quick to update it to match like what they've heard in the news and all that. And sometimes, man, there's just cool shit like going into the literal black holes, like all the stuff that you know about that's mapped in the universe is probably mapped correctly in there. But like the black holes are terrifying too. Like you get to them, you're like, wow, just fantastic, especially in VR, dude. Especially in VR.
Yeah, I can't wait because I played No Man's Sky when that VR patch came out,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and I enjoyed the flight part of it, but the control part of it was a little off. Um,
Yeah, don't.
and it was enough to like kind of make you almost wheezy. And I don't get motion sick in VR really ever. So to
Yeah.
to start getting those weird like moments in your stomach is a little disconcerting.
Yeah. Yeah, good shit. Well, hey, so that's everything that we played this week. I'm gonna keep playing Elite Dangerous next week too. I just want to keep building up. So I'm swapping back and forth between my actual save file and the Odyssey playtest environment.
Hmm.
But I'm leaning more and more towards the playtest stuff. It's just they did so many quality of life things. Like you can ride a taxi now. Like if you want to go someplace, like you don't have to fly there anymore. I got a taxi that'll take me there. There's a super cruise assist, so like that whole thing with you having a time when to drop out, there's something now that you do it and it automatically puts you in orbit around the target. So if I want to go grab something to eat, I go grab something to eat, go to I'm trying to remember that place I went that night that you got mad at me.
fucking
I'll
fucking
go to Olive
Olive
Garden.
Garden. Olive Garden. That's the other moment that I remember so well from Destiny.
So if I want to go to Olive Garden, it'll put me in. But so funny enough, I did that today. I let it do the auto orbit thing,
Hmm.
but I was wanted, and someone fucking killed me in orbit. So when I
Well,
came back, my
well,
ship
what were
was
you
destroyed.
wanted
But
for?
so in this new Odyssey update, like there's a lot of thievery and things
Oh, that's
that
right.
go on
Yep.
because you're always like it's like, oh, go to a base and reactivate somebody's power. Like that's what I've been doing the support missions. But in order for you to do that, you have to carry a stolen like power regulator or something on you.
Gotcha.
So when somebody scans you, it's like, oh, you've got stolen goods. Pop pop.
Let's go.
So you haven't dealt with that yet, but you'll. I'm so excited for you to get into that deeper stuff because even right now you're at like the cusp of it. But once you start getting into that, and you're like, man,
Hmm.
this is really a living world. Like even the AI, they seem very realistic. Like you'll know they're AI by the text, but like they operate like real humans would.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm going to scan this guy. If he's got something good that I want, I'm going to take him out. And if I see he's in a wing, maybe I'm not going to because I'm like, oh, he's too much power for me. Like they really have that logic built in. So I've always been impressed by that with them.
Oh, that explains why I was getting scanned then. Because when I was doing some of those trade routes, I
Oh
I,
yeah,
I guess someone probably saw that I was coming in and out of that same station probably like 18 times.
yeah.
And a couple times I definitely did get scanned on the way
Oh
in.
yeah. That's definitely why, and they have security and stuff like that too. So, yeah, man. And as you build up your faction, kind of staying with people,
Hmm.
that'll change how. AI and players respond to. So it's all very well in depth, man. That's why it's been alive for, I want to say it's like 5 or 6 years old now at this point. Like, and they've only done that one major update with the DLC for what was it called?
The
The
Horizons.
the Odyssey.
Oh,
Or
okay.
not Horizons. Yeah, you're right.
Horizons.
Sorry. Cool. But all right. Well, we covered everything. It's time for our favorite game.
Favorite
Video
game.
game favorite. Video game 20 questions. What's the score at? Archie, I finally won one.
Let me check. I have it up here. Let me pull it back up real quick. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Did it get moved? Oh, I guess it did get moved. So the current stats are Steve is 1 for 4 and I am 1 for 4.
Oh man, so we're tied up.
We are tied up. Yep. And it is your week to challenge me.
Oh yeah, and I am ready when you are. Sorry. Uber's having a hard time finding where we're at for food. Alrighty. So this game, I'm gonna try to give you some tips here.
Okay.
This is you would consider this a sports title.
Great.
It is a licensed game. If you're thinking regarding generations, you want to think your PS2, Xbox, GameCube era. Um, yeah, I think and this is I'll give you one. This is a Western studio, a pretty large one at that.
Pretty large Western studio. Okay, so you said sports title. Is it, do your characters resemble actual MLB players?
Not MLB, but they do represent real life people. That's one.
Okay. So let's see. So real life people, but not MLB people.
Yep. I didn't know. I said a sports title. I didn't say baseball.
Oh, I don't know why I thought baseball. Jesus. Okay, so they resemble their whatever their sport is. They resemble their players.
I want to be careful not to say they resemble what their sport is. They resemble who they are in real life.
So they're real humans though.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll knock down one off of that. Okay, so let's see. Is this a like iterative I can't even think of, I can't even say the word anymore. Is this a title that's like, oh, it's the 2001 version, here's the 2002 version, here's 2003?
No, not a yearly based installment like that, but it did receive sequel.
Okay, so it's real people, real life people, sports title. Is it a football game?
It is not.
Is it a basketball game?
It is not.
Dang. Okay, not a football, basketball.
To help you out there, when I say sport, any type of physical contact, MMA, boxing, wrestling, any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Just
Any kind of sport where, but they
any of that
resemble
stuff.
the real people. Is it a
Mhm.
wrestling game?
You could consider it a wrestling game, yes.
Could consider
A
it
lot
a
of people
wrestling
would
game.
consider it a wrestling game. I think it's fair to call it a wrestling game.
Okay.
It just maybe does not have the exact presentation you would expect from like a SmackDown, WCW, something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Is the word backyard in the title?
No,
No.
nor is backdoor.
I didn't say backdoor. I said backyard. Oh God.
Backyard. What was that? Backyard baseball? Something,
Yeah.
little PC game with
Yeah.
little Pedro something.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Pedro Slider, I think was his name.
No, they were real players. There's like a whole thing: the backyard baseball, backyard wrestling, backyard racing, backyard
Thinking
everything.
of this, there's this little game back in the day. I can't remember it right now. It's okay.
Let's see.
One day I will.
So I got 13 left. That's a lot. That's not a lot of questions. So it's kind of like wrestling. Most people would think it's wrestling, but they would not. Backyard with Insane Clown Posse. No, Thomas, that's not what it is. Oh man. Okay. So are the characters realistic or are they stylized?
They are as realistic as they could be for the
For the
time.
time, right.
Like, they might have some style changes to make them appropriate for a video game, you know, they give a
Right.
little extra oomph,
Right.
but
A little
they
extra muscle
are
mass here.
yeah, but they're realistic.
Okay. So you said it was during the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era. Was it on all of those titles or those systems?
I'll give you this one because it's unusual. It was on all of those except for the Xbox,
Oh,
but it
okay.
was on PlayStation 2 and GameCube. But for whatever reason, I have an Xbox. I don't know why.
Hmm. I think I missed a question there. Okay. So let's see. Damn, I don't even know that many like wrestling titles from that era. Is it is
Um,
it uh
I'll give just a reminder of a hint that I gave you in the opening. This is it's a licensed
right.
IP type game. So
Oh, okay. But they so it's a licensed IP. Is the licensed IP from like pop culture, not from sports?
yes,
So it's a pop culture license. Okay. Minus. Um yeah. See, Tom's with me. There is a backyard wrestling game, and they had one with ICP. Oh, that's terrible.
oh Jesus, I can
Um.
already tell.
So let's see. If it's a wrestling game, it's licensed. I'm trying to think of what license would allow a wrestling game during. Well, I guess during that time it was kind of the Wild West. Um. Let's try to follow the license. Was it a Simpsons title?
Nope. And before you go too far down that rabbit hole, realistic characters
Realistic
based off
characters.
real life people, realistically modeled.
But it's a pop culture license?
So when you say pop culture, and I had to tread it lightly here because it would be too big of a hint,
Right.
but when I think pop culture, I just think of anything that's popular
Yeah.
in media.
Yeah.
You know,
Anything popular in media is fine.
yeah, you know,
I just meant like in the sense of it's not, it's not a WWE license or WWF
yeah,
license. I guess
nah,
back
nothing like that.
back then it would be a WWF, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Worldwide
maybe.
Wrestling Federation. Um
These are like people you see on Entertainment Tonight. You know, extra,
Oh,
extra.
is it Celebrity Deathmatch?
It is not.
Oh no. I thought I had you on that for a second.
Um,
Celebrity
does it
Deathmatch was
have
a good one.
a L in the title? Let's find out.
Does it have an L in the title? What kind of random question is that?
It does not have a L in the title.
Oh god. Okay. Yes, please anyone in chat, please dear god help me cuz I'm drawing blanks.
Just how many letters are there in the alphabet? 20, 23, 24? What?
24, 26, something like that.
I
Somewhere
don't
in
know.
there.
Just next game, use all your questions on asking letters, you know? We'll change it to Wheel of Fortune instead.
The game just devolves in the Wheel of Fortune. Pat Sajak just chimes in and is a guest host.
Hey, you tried, Tom. You tried.
You tried. Let's see. So, God, but they resemble real people.
8 questions remaining.
Real people that look real. They're realistically modeled. Wrestling game. It's not. Oh, well, that should have been my. Okay, that was a dumb guess then, because Celebrity Deathmatch was absolutely claymation style.
Claymation.
Yeah.
That was a fun game. That was on PS2.
That was a fun
Wild one.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You're kind of
Realistic
onto
people.
something there, though. Now that I think about it, you are onto something. That's pretty hot. If
Is
we were
it?
going hot, cold, I would say that's pretty hot.
Pretty hot. That's hot. Let's not do that. Let's see.
Tom, yes, it does. Tom knows what it is. I can tell with that letter.
Oh, okay. Damn, man, I can't think of it. Like I'm literally drawing blanks. So let me go back to the licenses question then. So it's a licensed IP that is of fame, popular fame, but it is a licensed IP still. So is the IP mainly known for a movie?
No.
Is the IP mainly known for TV show?
Not mainly known. No.
God. Not a movie, not on TV. I mean, back
What does
then.
that leave?
Back then. I mean, is it radio? Is it from radio?
I'll give you this one. Yes, this IP is mostly known for music.
Mostly known for music.
You're so close.
What in the hell is this game? Celebrity DDR deathmatch. Oh, is this Def Jam Vendetta?
It is. Good job. Look at
okay.
Tom,
that's not my win.
Ever.
That's not my win at all. That's Tom's win. He got that.
Good job.
Good job,
we
Tom.
can do that. So chat, you won one.
Chat won. Yep. I'm gonna add a new column on our score sheet. Chat won one.
Yes. So Def Jam Vendetta is a 2003 wrestling game that combined hip hop with pro wrestling. It was released originally for the PlayStation 2 and GameCube. This was EA's first attempt at a wrestling game after the very bad WCW Backstage Assault. If you guys remember, back in this era, pretty much the way that things were going on the Nintendo 64, we had No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000. Those were made by THQ. And then at some point, we switched over to the PS2 era, and that's when the SmackDown series came about, which was also THQ, if I believe, if I'm correct.
Which one?
Made those the SmackDown series,
I think
SmackDown.
so. Yep.
Yeah, so they stayed with them for many years. Because of that, all the other studios kind of had to figure out their own thing to do if they wanted wrestling content. Of course, WCW went out of business, so the only show in town was the WWE at that point, and then some lesser studios that nobody cares about. So yeah, EA took a big chance on this, but this game was widely successful. I picked this one because, unfortunately, most of you guys probably know by this time, DMX unfortunately passed away earlier this week, and he was one of the very highly marketed characters in this game. So, all in all, the game had 46 playable characters. So, definitely a huge roster. A lot of people probably don't even know this game came out because it's so old. It's almost 20 years old at this point, but it did have a sequel as well, Def Jam Fight for New York.
I do have a bone to pick. I do not feel that this is a wrestling title, though. That game plays so much more like a fighting game than it does a wrestling game.
Go back and play it, though, because they do have a lot of wrestling moves.
Yeah,
a lot of the grappling, I think, is what makes it more of a wrestling game.
50 Cent's not gonna shoot a fucking get over here blast out of his hand, okay? Like, we know we know that we're dealing that the game was very realistic almost. Like they didn't really go too far out of bounds from reality.
Oh my god. Tom said he loved that game. It was a really good game, and it had a
I lost you, Steve.
Things
there you go. You're back now.
Okay. I like when games aren't afraid to go to camp. Like they went super campy with, everything that happened here. So yeah, it was a very great game. Rest in peace, DMX. This is one that people have been asking for them to bring back forever. You'll see on Instagram and Twitter a lot, like people put fake rosters together with like, oh, it's got Drake and it's got Migos in it, but really, honestly, like it would be a great time to do this because you have so many
we have so much beef in today's rap society now. Like it would be though, what would happen is a PC versus PC mode would exist because it mostly does. and then people would just start, hey,
Yeah.
80 out of 100 times this guy beat that guy, and then it's it's
Yeah.
all over Twitter at that point. It just creates
Yeah.
chaos.
It would be fun though.
Oh
I
yeah,
would like to see it. I would like to see them do it. But yeah, so hey, that's it for the show, man.
that's it
Great
for the
getting
show.
back together with you here this week. I can't wait for next week. Hopefully sometime over the next week, you and me are gonna be able to get together. Dangerous. I would love to do that.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely let me know. When you get your VR set up, let me know.
It'll be in
That's
about 20 minutes. You just wait.
oh, okay.
Expect a
Gotcha.
text.
I'll be standing by. I got to run out for a couple errands. I'm out of commission tomorrow and Wednesday. Got some work travel to do. So
Oh,
yeah, no gaming. It's gonna suck.
but
It is gonna suck.
traveling's
I
always
don't know.
fun though. So just not in this case, I guess. It's not a good travel. Okay. you don't have
I don't
to
even.
you don't have to expand on it.
I might have to bring. Might have to push the dust off my Stadia, man, and bring that. I don't know what the hell I'll play, but that might be. Maybe I'll finally get a chance to try that out and see how it is on the road.
Maybe.
Yeah,
There you might as well try before they shut down permanently.
exactly. But all right, folks, it's been great. Thanks for hanging out with us.
It's been awesome. Thanks everybody. Make sure to like, comment, do all those things that you do for other people, do them for us. Share us around. We appreciate all the input. Appreciate all of you. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. Adios.